Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening for our city council meeting. We'll go ahead and get started. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Bray.
Here.
Cheatham.
Here.
Lurick.
Here.
Mansfield.
Here.
Jacob.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Black.
Here. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, after which, if you would remain standing for the invocation, which will be offered by Tim Bridges representing Calvary Chapel. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wanted to invite everybody to sing God Bless America. We're close enough to the 4th of July, and we'll just, on the heels of it, we'll do that. Okay. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the valleys, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. You all are in fine voice, and thank you, City Council, for all you do. May God bless you, and may you work in harmony together. We love you guys. You go unappreciated in so many ways, but God be with you as you work through everything that needs to be worked through, and you're a blessing to this city. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Thank you.
And can I get a round for Connie? Wow. Girl, you got some pipes.
Give me a microphone, I won't give it up.
Look forward to next time, Tim.
Okay, we'll move to agenda item 3 is the consent agenda. The following business items may be approved by one motion and a vote. If any one member of the council so desires, any matter listed can be moved to a separate agenda item. A, minutes. Council may wish to waive the oral reading of the minutes and approve the minutes from the city council work session of April 14, 2022. B, material claims. Council may wish to consider material claims for the period of June 11 through June 29, 2022. C, Americans with Disability Act Grievance Committee reappointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Ricky Taylor to continue serving on the ADA Grievance Committee. Ricky's term will begin July 17, 2022 and will expire July 17, 2024. D, council decision, appeal of hearing examiner's denial of request for a variance from Pocatello Municipal Code 17.04.220. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving an appeal from Pat Raleigh to overturning the decision of the hearing examiner's denying Mr. Raleigh's request for a variance from Pocatello Municipal Code 17.04.220. E, council decision approval of zoning and comprehensive plan land use map amendment for approximately 14.78 acres of land. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving the request from Ken Poppy to amend the zoning designation of 2 parcels of land totaling approximately 14.78 acres located north of Gold Star Drive, south of Gold Star Drive, west of Olympus Drive, and from residential commercial professional RCP to commercial general CG with a concurrent amendment to the comprehensive plan map from mixed use MU to commercial C. F, council decision Rice subdivision short plat approval. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving a short plat for Rice subdivision, which subdivides approximately 4.33 acres of land located at 2396 South Grant Avenue into 3 lots subject to conditions. G, council decision High Terrace Division 3 final plat approval. Council may wish to adopt its decision approving the final plat for High Terrace Division 3, which subdivides approximately 18.69 acres of land into 32 lots, 30 single-family lots, and 2 open space common areas. This property is zoned residential medium-density single-family RMS and will be accessed from from an extension of East Center Street and a new road temporarily to be named Zimbabwe Drive. H, council decision, Northgate District 2, final plat approval. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving the final plat for Northgate District 2, which subdivides approximately 19.538 acres of land into 14 lots, 11 commercial lots, and 3 lots to be used for walking paths. This property is zoned commercial general CG and will be accessed from an extension of Gold Star Drive and a new road temporarily to be named District Drive. I, council decision, Wright Townhomes, final plat approval. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving the final plat for Wright Townhomes, which subdivides approximately 0.72 acres of land into 11 townhome lots. This property is zoned residential medium density, single family RMS, and will be accessed from the
Mr. Mayor,
from Hebert Avenue and Wright Avenue. Yes?
I move that we approve consent agenda, agenda item number 3, items A through I.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Mansfield,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Bray,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Ortega,
Yes.
Stevens,
I look forward to having our CFO in residence so we can do a thorough review and ensure that we don't have strange expenditures like we've had in the past, so no.
Okay, agenda item 4, calendar review. Council may wish to take this opportunity to inform other council members of upcoming meetings and events that should be called to their attention. July 14, 9 a.m., City Council Work Session. July 21, City Council Liaison Work Session Clarification Meeting has been canceled. July 21, 2 p.m., City Council Budget Meeting. 5 p.m., Special City Council Meeting. 5:30 p.m., Clarification Meeting. 6 p.m., Regular Council Meeting. Other events, July 10, 8 a.m., Parks and Recreation Quinn Meadows Cruise Fun Run. Contact the Parks and Recreation Department for information on that. July 8th through the 16th, Southeast Idaho Senior Games. July 21 and 23, Montana State Shakespeare in the Park, 6:30 p.m. at ISU Quad, is free to the public. Half off cat and kitten adoptions at Pocatello Animal Shelter, available July 8th through July 23rd. Contact the animal shelter for more information. Ross Park Band concerts on Sunday evenings from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. through the month of July. Open burn ban in wildland urban interface areas continues.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank the fire department. As a resident of Johnny Creek, I have no idea, and I can't prove that the new signs had anything to do with the fact that there were far fewer fireworks going off in Johnny Creek. There were a few cherry bombs as compared to last year where there were 3 or 4 calls to the police at least. So thank you, much appreciated, I'm sure, by everybody who lives in the Johnny Creek subdivision.
I think you're going to mention that the cat adoptions are half off, and we've got 3 kids that need cats. Sitting right out there, the Christensen family. The Christensen family should get 2 cats each for each one of those kids. So,
Well, we were thinking that it
That's a
started
great
right
idea.
here like that way.
no, it doesn't go that way. It goes right out there, the 3 of them. So
I asked Rick if he wanted one.
Rick doesn't want one.
I won't tell you what
We
his
will-
answer is.
Okay, I've lost control of the meeting, and I'm the one that did it. Agenda item 5, we'll move on. You're welcome, you can get the cats later. Agenda item 5 is a public hearing zone map amendment. This time has been set aside for council to hear comments from the public regarding a request by Bill Isley of B Street Investments LLC, represented by Rocky Mountain Engineering and Surveying, RMES, for a zone map amendment. Let's see, a zone map amendment application to rezone 2 parcels of land south of High Terrace Drive, Division 1 subdivision from residential estates RE to residential low-density RL. I declare the public hearing open. Council, has there been any ex parte communication or contact? Okay, thank you. Then, Bill.
So do I get 3 minutes or 10?
3.
3
And the
minutes.
clock will start.
You get 10. You get 10, everybody else gets 3.
I was getting ready to compress. Okay, Bill Isley, 477 La Vallestrada in Pocatello. This request was approved by CDC on June 8th. I wanted to give you a little, point this out, it's easier up here. There's 2 parcels and they're both triangles and they're outlined, and I use 2 hands because I'm older, outlined in black. The smaller parcel to the right has nothing to do with anything ever being built on it. It was traded by us to Empire Investments so that they could actually get the road through to their 2 parcels if Trace didn't allow them, because the 4 quarter sections came together right at that point. That point, it hit at one time. And you couldn't get a road through there even though there was a water line through. So we traded those 2 parcels to Empire for this portion of Sienna, right there. That green line to the left went straight through, and we owned to the south of that or to the bottom of the page. Empire owned the part to the top. We couldn't have developed Sienna, which is Tuscany Hills 2. We couldn't have developed that street without that trade. So we made that trade. It was good for both of us. Now, the parcel that we traded to them was already in the city limits and zoned, and it was already zoned RE, which is the green part on that map. Because from our perspective, when we were developing below, when we developed La Vallestrada, the part in purple, which is residential high density, all of the rest of the ground around it was common area, and it didn't need to be anything but residential estate. So then we rezoned this parcel when we did Tuscany Hills 2. We've got residential medium density here and here, and residential low density here, the blue. When we came in and got the blue, we would have rezoned those 2 parcels at the same time, but we overlooked it because it belonged to us. It was traded, it came back, it was already in the city limits, and we were bringing the new piece into the city limits. We overlooked it. When city staff pointed out to us that there was a little piece that came through the development we proposed for that, elevation 5,000 Division 1, it slices through a corner of it. Well, we only needed 0.4 acres, not the whole 2.48, to do the development that we were proposing, but it was decided that while we were doing it, we might as well just do the whole piece, so it was all the same. So those are the 2 parcels we're talking about. This parcel here is 2.48 acres, of which 0.43 acres is actually needed for the Division 1 development, for the lots. All the rest of it is still going to be common area, which is what it was going to be when we developed it from below. So the vast majority of that, 82% of it, is still exactly the same use, common area. The other is going to be residential, but in order to put our development on, which is our first phase of townhouses, it needs to be the residential low density and not residential estate. So that was the background of those 2 parcels and why they needed to be rezoned. Now, I still have 3 minutes. Man, I'm not talking fast. I anticipate, and I don't know whether to do it now or later, but I'm going to do part of it now. I anticipate that there's 2 areas of concern with this rezone. It's not really with the rezone, but it's been boiling for a while. And one of them will be the traffic on Vista, and so it will be blended into this argument because any traffic generated goes down Vista. So I guess we kind of connect at that point. And the second one will be, which is a new one being brought up, is emergency vehicle access. And both of those are worked out, but I'll just point it out briefly. If that becomes a point of contention, then I can approach it again in rebuttal. On that other map. Yeah, the other one is going to come up right away, right there. This map shows the whole area. Everything in green here is the East Side Surprise development, which we now control. When we first came in, we didn't control anything beyond that direction. Now we control that. We own this part in here, and we have option on this part here. So Vista now has 85 houses on it that drains out of Vista. With all of the development that we've had approved thus far, including the one that's pending, that will add another 85. That'll be 170. Center Street, when it was being developed here all the way up, it has now 521 houses coming out of it, and the vast majority go down Center. Whether they go through, and I'm talking traffic now, not access, but the vast majority of them go down Center Street. Some of them come down Terry. There has never been and never will be a problem of traffic on Vista. At worst, there is an inconvenience that there's an easy solution to. I'll go into that in 1 minute. The reason there is not a problem is the road is a full 10 feet paved wider than the normal city residential section. That was done because when you first come up, you come through commercial. And the city wanted us to continue that wider road on up the hill. We did all the way up to the corner where you turn off to it actually goes all the way to High Terrace 1, but it's where you turn down into Sienna. And so that road is 10 feet wider than every residential street in town except for big boulevards like Satterfield Boulevard. By the time you have your 2 lanes of parking and then 2 lanes of traffic on a normal, you now have 3 lanes. Now there's some deceptive curves. You find yourself, even when you're going 25 miles an hour, kind of going wider on them than you just, maybe because it's so wide, you're just floating down there. An easy way to fix that is just right on the curve, stripe it. Not the whole street, just the curve. So it reminds people of where they are. The inconvenience is right here at Vista and Center Street. Now then, 5 times more people come down Center Street than come down Vista. That's what causes the problem. The easy solution is this. You come down Vista, you have 2 lanes leaving. You have 1 lane coming up Vista and you have 2 coming out, and one of them is a dedicated left-hand turn where you have to cross the traffic. The other one's a right-hand turn that takes you right down to the freeway. When you're coming off of the right-hand lane, that traffic, which is 80% of the traffic, come off the hill in the inconvenient times, which is in 7:35, 7:40, 5:15, right then. You come back 15 minutes later, it's gone. But in those inconvenient times, it's right there. Now then, here's the solution. And if you guys like it, you can have your paint guy do it for $50 in an hour. What happens is the people in the right-hand lane, they're going to turn right, come up right to where it says to stop. But the problem is the people in the left-hand lane that are going to turn left come up to the same place to stop. And the people in the right-hand lane inch forward a little bit to see if they can see. This guy goes inches forward, and all of a sudden, this lane is stuck. with one vehicle. One vehicle here can stop this traffic from flowing out for minutes, because that's all the problem anyway. All you have to do is take this lane, slide it back 12 feet, stripe it, stop here, right stop on it. They still have all the view they need. Then the other thing is that if people knew how to drive at that point, you can drive across the 2 lanes coming down when they're open and nest in the center turn lane and go slowly up.
Thank you, Bill.
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, Jesus, I did it. Okay.
Put that so you can pay attention to it.
Okay. And then the other thing is the fire access, which this map will show, and I'll talk about it.
Thank you very much. So, council, and I apologize, I meant to mention this before as a reminder with this public hearing, we are only and can only consider, could you go back to that other slide? Only consider the 2 parcels that are being asked for the variance or the rezone. We can't consider right now traffic and all that stuff. It's a matter of whether or not this property is okay to be rezoned. So with that, Matt.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Matthew Lewis, senior planner with the city. As noted, Mr. Isley has submitted a zoning map amendment to rezone a 2.48 acre parcel as well as a 0.58 acre parcel from residential estate to residential low density. The subject parcels are located south of High Terrace Division 1 subdivision and are part of the proposed preliminary plat referred to as Elevation 5000 Division 1. As noted, a public hearing was held before the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 8th of 2022, at which time the commission recommended approval of the zone map amendment application, finding the application does meet the standards for approval under Chapter 1702.170 of Pocatello City Code with 3 conditions as outlined in the staff report. Notice was published in the Idaho State Journal and a sign was posted near the subject property on June 21st, 2022. All property owners within 300 feet of the external boundaries of the land being considered have been provided notice of the public hearing. No written comment from the public has been received by staff. In consideration of the application, staff concludes that the proposed zoning map amendment is compliant with Pocatello City Code Section 1702.170, as outlined with these staff conditions. That concludes my presentation, Mayor and Council.
Any questions for Matt while he's there? Okay, Matt, you stated that the planning staff has not received any written correspondence.
That's correct. That's correct.
Madam Clerk, have we received any there? I know that there have been some correspondence to the email to the city council members that we've received up to even about 4/30th, I think is what it is. And so I just want people to know that we've had the opportunity to look at it. We've read those that you have emailed us, and so those have all been, and we'll make sure that those are all entered into the record and that our clerk has a copy of those emails as we need to. So with that, thank you, Matt. With that, then I would look for any testimony supporting the application. Any testimony uncommitted to the application. Any testimony opposed to the application. Okay?
Nikki Taysom, General Delivery, Pocatello, Idaho 83201. I just am unclear on some things with regard to the property south of it, if that's still estate zoned. I wasn't clear on that, so I wanted that answered before I could say, because I don't understand what estate zone is, and if the property below that is all estate.
I think you're asking if it was a residential estate RE zoning in that south of
That
the,
green part just
in
below
the
those
green
two
part
little
south
black
of
pieces.
that. I'm getting nodded, yes, it is.
Okay. Because that's what I just wanted to make sure if the people below that, how they're being impacted that, as well as with the increase of traffic. That's why I'm opposing it. And also just some of the things have been not done very appropriately. Now we're paying the price for it with ingress and egress and other situations. So I wanted that validated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others opposed to the application?
My name is Katie Levitt, and I'm speaking on behalf of 51 households. That includes 185 residents, and many cannot be here today because they were asked for me to share the grave concerns with the direction of the planning and development that is happening above the Tuscany development where these residents live. The petition reads, Tuscany homeowners petition to protest high-density townhome amendment at the top of Vista Drive. Whereas the community has substantial concerns with the development of high-density housing at the top of Vista Drive, the community will be negatively impacted and left with considerable concerns, fire safety issues, traffic safety issues from the high-density townhomes at the top. There's no exit. At current, we know it's in the plans, but there's no requirement even on the fire department statement that he has said. It says it does meet the requirements, but in 5 years, if there's an economic downturn, the plan will be reassessed. And in 3 years, there's no guarantee that Bill Isley will put in a road in this development. We're very concerned about the high traffic and the fire safety issues. And then the long-term planning and development impact on the communities
Katie,
of Pocatello.
I want to
Yes.
stop you. Sorry to interrupt, but we can only consider the zoning question, whether or not it meets the requirements to be rezoned from residential estates to residential low density.
Okay, and we do not want the change. We want a congruent, we would like the development to stay in congruent with what the area is right now. That's what the community is asking. They do not want to be sandwiched between hotels at the bottom, our beautiful Tuscany development, and then townhomes that are starting to bridge out from the development that is being proposed.
Okay.
So that's the main concern on a development level. I know that he wants to keep a tight frame on what this is, but there is concerns. He owns the other area. In the planning meeting, he did talk specifically, and I know my time's running out, which is frustrating, but in the meeting, he did talk about this being the first of many townhome developments that we are the only access for, and we are the ones that have to bridge the impact and the traffic impact from that going in. Does that answer your questions? I wish you would have waited for a second for me to have my time.
No,
but-
what I'm trying to do is explain that, no, we can only consider whether or not this meets the standards of a rezone. We can't consider the long-range plan. We can't consider traffic and all of that other mess with this. We can only consider whether or not this rezone meets the requirements for the rezone.
Mayor Blad, respectfully, I disagree. We went through the planning development process and voiced our concerns there. We were told at that meeting that that was the code requirement, and that at this meeting, you guys are the gatekeepers to the city. You hold the vision for the city. You hold a respectful position for residents who are impacted by these development decisions. And I think that it's appropriate for us to voice our concerns and be heard, because if he walks off and cashes his check on his development, we're the residents that have to live with the impact of the decision.
Understand? Please.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my voice.
No, that's perfectly okay. I can
I
understand
apologize.
frustration. We stopped the clock for you. We don't typically do that, but I'm going to put my attorney on the spot here to explain what we can and can't, and how we can and can't consider as this rezone, so the public will understand as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So the actual request is guided by Pocatello City Ordinance. And that city ordinance has, well, I'd have to count them, 5 or 6 basic criteria that if they are met, the council has to approve the request. If they are not met, the council cannot approve the request. That's what the council's purview is those compliance standards built into the Pocatello Municipal Code. And that's found in, I'm sure you've seen it in the packet, 17.02.170E, 1 through 6. And so while your comments can be relevant and related to the request for rezone, what the council has to consider is those 6 criteria by which to make the land use decision that's before them tonight.
Okay, and we do not want the rezone, we did not want him to have the flexibility to put townhomes sandwiched above our development where we will be the only exit for the time being, right? So I mean, I guess my question to you is why have a public hearing?
So that
Why have a public hearing if
And
the
that's a-
public cannot explain
I
what
can
they're
answer that
feeling
question.
and how this is going to
And you-
impact their area?
And you can absolutely have those points and express those points, but they're most effective if those points relate specifically to the criteria that the council has to consider.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. We turned the clock back on. We let you go a lot longer. I broke my cardinal rule.
I'm
Thank you
sorry.
very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely, we are looking for anyone else at this point. Your 3 minutes are up.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
When would it
Thank
be
you.
appropriate
Any-
for a
any-
question?
The questions will be referred to staff or the developer at this point.
At the end?
Yeah, at the end, yeah. Katie, were you able to sign in on this sheet?
I know.
Could somebody please hand that sheet to her, and then we also need you to sign in as well.
I'll do that in a second. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, my name is Tom Lyons. My address, street address is 3087 Monson Street. I'm actually here on behalf of Farm Bureau. I understand, Mr. Johnson, the issues, and Mayor Blatt, I appreciate that. We just want to confirm we're concerned about the traffic issue, that's all. And I know this is not necessarily the right forum, but I disagree with what Mr. Isley says as far as the traffic issue. I know, again, that's all I wanted to say. And I just wanted the members to be aware that Farm Bureau is a little concerned about that egress. It's a mess. So just.
Thank you. That sheet's right there.
Actually, oh, there it is. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any others opposed to the application?
We're all opposed.
Okay, do you want to, are you listed on this?
Yep. And
They can still speak.
You can still speak if you'd like to. If somebody would like to stand up and speak, you get 3 minutes.
I would like to. Can we pass this around, please?
And if you would make sure that you put your name down on that too. And anybody else, you could hand it back. If somebody else wants to speak, just put your name on that and then you can come up and speak. Thank you.
Okay, I really appreciate your time. My name is Allie Shack, and I live on Vista Drive. The same concerns that many of us have. My biggest concern, obviously, is emergency vehicles. How are they going to get up there? And my second concern is, unfortunately, our developer that develops up there does not keep his promises. It is not fair to the people of Pocatello, hardworking people. I'm sorry, I have to say something. We are tired of the switch and bait that goes on and on. 2 years ago, he gave us this blood pledge, and I realized that it is not a legal document. But he had us going, that it was gonna be single-family homes, the way it was set up. And we felt okay about it because traffic, it wouldn't be great, but it would be lower. And then he throws this bait and switch on us where townhomes, and we are afraid our whole hill will be townhomes. And unfortunately, a road will not be put in. And we are begging you to listen to our cause. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ally. Any others that would like to speak to oppose? Ben, I'm only going to let you speak if you get those 3 kids' cats.
Okay, I'm Ben Christensen for 27 Vista. Is there, I haven't spoken at a city council meeting before. Is there a way to eliminate those 6 points that we're contesting right now? Because I have the same complaints that other residents have. We don't have anybody in support. Everybody's opposed and there's nothing we can do. Maybe I can just repeat that until my 3 minutes are up. It's dangerous. It's not a good idea. It's poor plan, but apparently that it meets the code. Maybe we can address the code that says it only meets fire code if we connect that road. And that's at the discretion of the fire marshal. I'm not sure how. Maybe we can address that or challenge the fact that that's backstepping. That's already been approved. I don't know. What are the 6 points? Can we hear those and address those maybe in our next?
Tell them what the 6 points are.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Stop that again, breaking my rule twice.
So there are 6. They're found in Pocatello Municipal Code 17.02.170E. And they are, 1, how the requested zoning at the location in question would be in the community's best interest. 2, how the list of uses permitted by the zoning ordinance would blend with the surrounding land uses. 3, if the subject site is physically suitable for the type and intensity of land uses permitted under the proposed zoning district. 4, if the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district would be adequately served by public facilities and services such as thoroughfares, police and fire protection, drainage, refuse disposal, water, sewer, and schools to ensure the public health, safety, and general welfare. 5, if the uses permitted in the zoning district would be compatible in terms of their scale, mass, coverage, density, and intensity with adjacent land uses. And finally, 6, whether the proposed zoning designation is consistent with the comprehensive plan land use map designation. And as I stated before, if your comments relate to those, that's great. Those are what the council has to consider.
Would you mind repeating 1 and 2? Just
Would you like me to do that?
should have brought
Please
my.
do.
1, 2, and 3?
1 through 4, please.
Okay. 1, how the requested zoning at the location in question would be in the community's best interest. 2, how the list of uses permitted by the zoning ordinance would blend with the surrounding land uses. 3, if the subject site is physically suitable for the type and intensity of land uses permitted under the proposed zoning district. And the 4th one is if the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district would be adequately served by the public facilities and services such as thoroughfares, police and fire protection, drainage, refuse disposal, water, sewer, and schools to ensure public health, safety, and general welfare.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can just take those one at a time in the next 2 minutes. Thank you for pausing the clock.
Okay, started.
So as a member of the community, we built a house there, assuming that the neighborhood would be would continue as a regular neighborhood. All of the assumptions of the local community, all of the people who lived in that local community had that assumption. How is it in the interest of our community to do something that none of the residents want? It's not in the best interest of any of our community because of the issues that we can't talk about, which is, I don't know, safety, fire code, things like that. Have already been brushed under the carpet. Continuity of our neighborhood, it's not going to fit in. It's a high density housing in a low density neighborhood at the very top 500 feet above the rest of the community. We're putting a very dense population of 24 housing units where there should only be 4 were proposed. If we make these amendments, what happens on the next half mile as we talk about this road to meet our fire safety code? So those are huge concerns that I have. The value of our primary asset is in question here. Whether anybody will move, I don't know if everybody will move out, but everybody in that neighborhood who can leave is going to leave. And those who can't, that are upside down in their mortgage, those are going to be the ones that stay, and maybe they'll go up for foreclosure. Those are not in the best interest of the community. I'm telling you, as a member of the community, people will leave if they can. So we're losing and if that's the policy of our city, those people will consider whether or not to stay actually in our community, if those are the types of decisions that we allow to happen. Thank you very much. And I neglected to say thank you for your service and thank you for what you're doing, council members. And
Thank you.
Mayor, thank you.
Any others opposed to the application? You're more than welcome to step up here.
Yes, I am.
There's a sign-in sheet right there. Come on, sir. Oh, do you have the sign-in sheet? Would you bring it up to him, please?
I have one.
There's a pen, I think, on
Attached
it.
to it.
I think it's attached. Look at the clipboard. Look at the clipboard.
I'm
There you
blind.
go.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's fine. What can I say? All right. My name is Paul Entrikin, Entrikin. I live at 3550 East Center Street. Currently, it's the last house on the right at the end of the paved road. So I'm not in favor of the proposal. As I was driving here, I was thinking about this again. If you add this many more residents in this area, you're going to need a stoplight there as you go to Vista. So you're going to come down the hill, at least from my perspective, got a stoplight to stop at Hospital Way. 300 meters, I got one at Vista. 200 meters, I got one just before I go underneath the interstate. Another 200 meters, I got a fourth one just to get all the way out from the interstate. I have no idea how the city planner or smart people can time these lights so it doesn't make a terrible mess, but it's going to be a problem for sure. All right? The other thing, of course, currently, the paved road ends exactly at the end of my house. I see on the plans that they intend to make it a loop, if you will, to continue paving the road. But what's going to happen is, as people find out that Vista is just a big roadblock, they're going to go the other way. They're going to be driving up around past the other way to get to East Center Street. And they'll be driving all over the hillside, and again, right in front of my house and the other people's homes that are on this stretch, right in front of the old folks' home, right? Right? And so forth, on down the hill. I'll be honest with you, going down that hill in the wintertime is an adventure. I've spun out myself at that last big turn, just before it levels out. I've actually, there's no police here, I've actually skidded right through the stop sign at Hospital Way one day, okay? Because I just couldn't stop. So all I'm saying is the traffic patterns are going to be innovative. People are going to find the easiest, best way. And I think it's going to be a challenge for everybody. And as I say, I have 4 grandchildren who live with me. People next door got 4 kids. Anyway, it looks like it's not even up where I live at the top of the hill there. It doesn't look like a high-density place, but there are a lot of people with, in our case, 3 generations of people living in the same house, right? So it's not that it's, a lone man in the Garden of Eden here. So thank you for your time, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you, Paul. Any others opposed to the application?
For some reason, I am super nervous, even though you guys are smiling and you're so nice, and I'm so grateful for the work you do. So I'm just going to read from here, if that's okay.
Okay, but if you would please state your name for the people watching on TV.
Oh, dear. My name's Natalie Christensen, and I live on Vista Drive. We are coming to you as hardworking, contributing citizens to this community. Some of us have families who have lived here for generations. We're invested in this community and in Pocatello. As a neighborhood, we have invested millions into our homes and spaces in the Tuscany development. We have done this trusting in what we were told upon purchase, that we would have a park, that the land above would be developed with single-family homes and connect to Center Street. The vision was one that made us willing to take on significant debt to live here. We have naively trusted that our spaces would grow to become one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Pocatello. I really think this could be one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Pocatello. I'm going to skip that part. Anyway, it's super important to have safe, beautiful places to live, and that's why businesses come, and that's why families come, and that's why we stay. This amendment is why we're here. We're here for an amendment to the original plan. And we are asking that we put this amendment on hold and go back to the original plan. This does not need to be done. It does not need to be done now. What needs to be done, even after our talking with the fire marshal, what needs to be done and what we're counting on is an access road. That was the plan, and that's what we need. So it doesn't make any sense that we're going to spend time doing this random side road that's going to add more traffic and more fire safety issues. What we should do is put that on hold and start developing the road that creates the access. If we want to make amendments all day long, once that's done, then maybe that's something we should approve. And if, I'm like trembling, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm pretty passionate about this. Thank you for smiling behind your mask at me. You have nice eyes. Anyway, I just feel like we all feel like this amendment needs to be put on hold. We need to just think twice about this. It is in the best interest of our communities, for the longevity of our neighborhoods, to let this sit and he can develop just like he told us and like we were counting on, developing that access road so it connects. And these random amendments that are putting high density housing and packing us is just not a good idea. So this is our request, that we put this on hold until that access road is done, because that's the only thing that is responsible. It's the only responsible thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew, I didn't run.
Any others? You did great. Any others opposed to the application? Sure. It might calm you down a little bit if you're nervous.
Why is everybody so nervous? We work for you all.
I know. Because we're passionate about this.
We're the employees here, and y'all are nervous.
Because we don't get treated that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Blad and City Council members, thank you so much for your time and your service to our community. You're very much appreciated. We aren't asking for Bill Isley to stop.
Sorry to interrupt you. We need your name for the people
I'm sorry.
watching on TV.
I'm sorry. It's Jenny Scott, and I live on Sienna. It's the branch off of Vista. We are not asking for Bill Isley to stop this development. That's not what we're asking. It's okay that he does single-family homes. That's what we were aware of what was happening. What we are asking is for a traffic study to be done before the approval of this amendment. We would like a second exit to be put in place before high-density housing is approved. We are asking for the area to be built in congruence with the exiting housing for obvious planning and development reasons. You, the City Council, are the only ones standing in the way of this development disaster. You are the gatekeepers to the Gate City. Right now, you have a choice. Number one, you can side with Bill Isley and a few men in the city who minimize the community's concerns. Bill will take his fortune on the backs of the residents. Or number two, you can side with 185 residents and more. We just didn't have time to get to everybody in the community that will have to deal with the high density traffic, fire safety issues, and property values that will likely lose their luster. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any others opposed to the application?
Hi, first I'd just like to say thank you for listening to our concerns. I really appreciate it. My name is Ciara Jackson. I am 17. I moved to Idaho around a year and a half ago. My main reason for negating Bill Isley's amendment is because I see a real concern for safety here. With over 85, if this were to be passed, there'd be over 85 homes that were going to be built. And when you do the math, that equals out to like 4 cars per home when you count for like 2 parents and like 2 children. And that would equal out to over 680 cars having a like one-way exit path going down Vista Drive, which is a huge safety concern, especially with like natural disasters and just like traffic in general. And you guys have said that you don't want to like look into like the future and see what happened, but like scientists and statistics say now that the Wasatch Fault Line could fall right now along with like the Yellowstone volcano. And if there's 680 cars trying to get down there, there's going to be no way for anyone to truly access the freeways, especially since the freeway either goes out to like Idaho Falls or it's going to go out to Utah. Now I'll be addressing like the ordinance one, which was like best interest. In no way, shape, or form is Bill Isley's current amendment in the best interest for the people and the residents of Pocatello or Vista Drive like on Sienna, because of the safety concerns, especially with children that currently live here. With 85 more homes, this is going to increase the amount of accidents that children are going to have, whether they're playing basketball, playing soccer, playing baseball in their yards. When they run out and there's like triple the amount of cars that are on our street right now, there's going to see like an increase in accidents, and it's going to just negatively have an overall impact on our community. Now I'll just be addressing the fourth one, which was like police and fire. With police and fire, if there were to be like, let's say a townhome that catches on fire, it's going to take so long for the police, for ambulances, and for the fire trucks to get up to that new, it's like the new street, that it's going to be a safety hazard for these individuals. And it would not only be a bad idea to build this, but it'll also be a bad idea for anyone up there to move into like those complexes or houses. And, I'm only at 44 seconds, or 43. Okay, that's nice. That's a little time. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to our concerns. And that'll be it.
Thank you. Any others opposed?
My name's Steve Shack. I live at 490 Vista, and I just wanted to say, just because something meets code doesn't mean it's in the best interest of the community. Nobody expected the Charlotte fires to happen in 2012, and why can't we be prepared and proactive now and plan for something and have the traffic study and have a road before we have the housing? And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Any others opposed to the application? I'm sorry, you've already spoken, and so we'll go ahead and go on to the applicant. You've got some questions to be asked, and I think council has some questions.
Does he have a time limit?
With you, if you're asking questions.
Do I have 3 minutes to rebut first?
Well, we've how much time does he have for that? 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to do that, and then any questions.
And then the questions, yeah. First off, on promises don't keep. That is Tuscany Hills Planned Unit Development that I built over 20 years, and I kept every promise there. This is the blood pledge. I even signed it in red, and every word of this pledge has been kept. I, Bill Isley, being the owner of High Terrace Division 1, hereby pledge. 1, this will be a 27-lot single-family residential development. Done. 2, the zoning will be RMS, the same as Sienna Drive and Tuscany Hills First Possession. Done. 3, there will be no commercial development in any part of High Terrace. 3, done. There will be CCRs covering High Terrace and an owners association from the time the first house is sold. Done. 5, I will work to have Center Street connect to Vista Street within 5 years from the time High Terrace 1 is built. Not done yet. High Terrace 1 just finished. It's got 5 years. I even have a plan that's been approved to do that. Signed in blood this 19th day of August, 2020. Every single thing on there was done. Access roads. Access roads don't get built before development. They just don't. You would never have any of Monte Vista. There were 450 houses there before they finally got Booth into it. Tuscany Hills, which was a planned unit development, there was oftentimes 5 and maybe even 7 years where there were more than 30 houses on a road before it connected. All of Sagewood Hills, how long was it before Bertie Thompson went up? Satterfield, that's how development happens. That's why the fire code, and that's probably going to be one of the questions, and so I should save it to answer that question. That's why the fire code is written like it's written. Instead of looking at it as a negative, for the first time, there has been in 50 years any advancement on Center Street connecting to Monte Vista has been made by me. Every inch of it. Most of Vista has been made by me. Almost every inch of it. I did all of Tuscany Hills planned unit development, including where the hotels are down below and the restaurants and things like that. It's an area I've lived in for 20 years. I've built 3 different houses and lived there, and I'll live there forever. I have the best interests of that piece of property. The density that they want is great big lots, apparently, on top of the hill, which will be destructive to the animals, to everything that's up there. Now, I'll answer any questions, and I will answer them completely, fully.
Thank you. We've got
straightforward.
2 questions, one from Councilmember Mansfield and then Councilwoman Lyric.
Can you give me a quick overview again of what the current zoning is of the highlighted map? I know you did. I just want a quick refresher, so I
Yes.
apologize.
All of the brown, it looks brown.
Yep.
All of that is residential medium density. All of the green is residential estate. The purple is residential high density, the highest density that this code allows.
And that's Vallestrada.
Excuse me, La Vallestrada. Yep, those are the townhouses going all the way up,
Right.
and then the houses on the end, and I live right there. The blue is the residential low, which is 1 step below estate and 1 step above medium. Every single house on Sienna and Vista, every single one is zoned residential medium density. I'm trying to change that triangle, actually 4/10 of 1 acre of that triangle, to residential low, which is a step up from residential medium. And it's a step up from everything there and all of the residential there. Now, I can explain the emergency stuff in detail if you want. I can explain the plan, how much common area we're going to have and how it's going to fit in. To anybody that wants to listen, it's going to be a very excellent, beautiful development.
Bill,
We've got a Lyric and then Stevens.
Can you put me after?
And then Mansfield.
So I'm a little bit confused, and I appreciate the synopsis of the zoning because that helps clarify a little bit. But what we heard from most of the people that testified mentioned high density. I heard over and over high density development. But the lots that we're considering tonight for a rezone, we're going to a lower density, not a higher density.
Lower density than their own zoning.
So where is the higher density coming into this?
Misconception. Whenever anybody uses the word townhouse, they think of these little skinny, cheap things that go up forever, and there's terrible parking problems. And I know this for a fact because I built one right there that was the biggest mistake in my development career. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, that was nice. one-car garage a half a mile from the university, and all these kids would join up, and there'd be 4 or 5 cars and one garage and one place to park. I live at the end of that street, so I'm paying my penance. But that was a mistake. The townhouses that I'm proposing and will build on the top of that hill going across there will sell, they'll be very high end. They'll sell for more than a lot of the houses that you drive through to get there. They have, the majority are 2-car garage, 3-car garage, a few 1-car garage. They all have their own separate driveways. They are 2,200 square feet and above finished square footage. They're beautiful. The reason I'm doing that, if I can, is because that's the only way that you can take care of all of the ground. Out of the 100 and some acres that will be encompassed in elevation 5,000, 85% of it will be common area, nothing else. I'm not even allowing fences to be built on the townhouse lot, except for around the patio, so that that's all common area.
So to clarify, the townhouses that you are talking about would fit the residential low-density
Yes.
zoning? Okay.
So,
Okay, Chris?
if you were going to build houses up there on that exact, how many houses, single-family, standalone houses would fit according to code? And maybe that's a staff question, I don't know.
You could put as many houses on as you do townhouses.
So you could put 24 standalone, single-family houses in that?
Yes. Yes.
I guess I'm looking at staff, is that, because I don't know. Okay.
Okay, he'll address it in a minute.
All right, because I'm also, and this isn't a question anybody can answer, I guess I'm really confused about how we got to such a contentious point when it appears to me that it would be in everybody's best interest, including the city's best interest, to sit down and have some kind of clarifying opportunity. Because it doesn't sound to me, well, I'm quite certain that what I'm hearing is not clarity, because we have, from my perspective, I have 2 opposing scenarios, and I have no way of, I can water witch really well, but I didn't bring my sticks or my rod, so I have no idea.
I was given a letter when I first started. When I first started, I went around, I was talking to people. I was given a letter that they weren't opposed to development. It was by Dr. Godfrey, who wasn't opposed to development, but he wanted me to change my plan from 67.5-foot wide lots going up Vista to 85 foot, because then it would be bigger houses and more valuable and all this. And I explained very carefully, and I attempted to, that I couldn't. The 67.5 was just right, as big as you could get, without having a terraced, double-step, 10-foot wall between each lot, because you've got a 9% grade road. So in 100 feet, you go up 9 feet. And that's what I explained, but we worked our way through it, and we are doing what we're doing. It's going to be very nice. The houses are going to be worth as much as the houses down below or more. They're going to have a great association. It's going to be very active. But that's when it started. And then it started on a couple of the park issue. I tried to give them the ground for the park. As a matter of fact, it's right there. Right there, those 2 lots. But they wouldn't even form their association so they could maintain it. Tried to. I'll give you. The guy came to me. I says, "I tell you what, you get the forest association formed so you'll maintain it. I'll give you the ground, and then you can have the parking, do whatever you want." Went around to people. They didn't want an association because they'd have to pay $10 or $15. So that fell off. But ever since then, it's come back on me. That piece of property originally started as 4 fourplexes, is what was on the original plan when we first started building that, and then we changed it. Then it was going to be a park if they wanted it. They didn't want it, and then it ended up as 2 houses. So that's the absolute truth, and I don't lie in public. Now then.
But you do it private? I just had to.
That was very good.
Sorry.
Well, but I certainly don't lie here.
Okay,
And I'm telling it right now.
A question by Mansfield.
So my question's actually for staff.
Okay, so any other questions for Bill while he's up here?
Will somebody ask me about the access road, please?
Tell us about the access road.
Okay, can you put that up? The access road, as I've said to city staff and city council and to everybody that will listen for years, is that we controlled from right there to right there. And we always stubbed the road to the next parcel and we kept going. But we didn't own Empire Investment property, which started right there and started right there. We have no way of dictating an access road or a connection. So the reason the fire has it the way they have it and the way the city has it the way it has it is if you have an area of your development where you're only going to never have but one road going into it, it's limited to 30. Unless, exception 1, you want to put sprinkler systems in each house. Then you can go up to 40 or 60. They vary, and city councils usually make that determination. So you have a big development. It's going to have roads going throughout, but it has a beautiful box canyon. And you can only go in there, and you can't get to it in any other way. You can only have 30 or sprinkler systems. Exception number 2 to the 30 rule. The 30 rule is for when you finish. Nothing else can happen because no other roads can come in. Exception number 2 is while you're doing a development and in a development, when you come to another piece of property that is owned by a private property owner, your obligation usually is, and the city always made us stub our property, our roads, so that they could continue. When you have a master plan like this planned unit development Tuscany Hills, where you show the road system, there's oftentimes that you have 80, 100, 200 houses that are on a single access road, but the road's going to go through as development allows, and you make the connection. Well, that's what I was so happy about when they finally decided to sell this ground, and I got an option on this, is I could be the person that connected Center Street and Vista.
Well, that was part of my question is, you explain to me, I think I understand in general terms what having an option on property means, but can you talk to me more specifically about timeline relative to exercising that option? Timeline, best guess, getting that road through once you've exercised your option? Because I don't know, I can't speak for these folks, but I've been in situations where knowing that certain timelines were guaranteed, I could live with something that wasn't my fave for a while, knowing that it wasn't going to be permanent. So can you talk about that?
Certainly I can.
Blue land?
As I said before, when you don't own the property, you can't control it.
Right.
Okay. So on the property that I own, I can control.
Right.
Okay. I also have a large degree of control on the property I have under option. Nobody else can own it. Only I can buy it. There's some issues with water up in here that we've been working with the city on for 2 years. We're moving in this direction. I've got the option that and I've been spending money every 2 years to make sure that it's in force. So I can buy that property and put that road through. If I don't exercise the option, then whoever owns the property can put the road through when they develop it. But the roads only go through when you develop. In the meantime, we acquired through a partnership this piece of property, and I own this piece, and it's a longer story. But anyway, this gave us total control over getting an access to Beth, and we're stubbed now to Treyas's property. The city always thought Center Street was going to go to Monte Vista. That's why they have the water line there. The sewer line in this section will come up. And that was the big grand plan. It never has happened. It's starting to happen, and we can make it happen. So what I said to these people in the blood pledge, that's not real blood, that's just red ink. But in this pledge is that I will work, and I have worked very hard, to make this connection within 5 years from when High Terrace is built. High Terrace just got accepted by the city, and we just started the first 2 foundations.
So are you telling me and these folks that no later than August of 2025 or thereabouts that there will be a road there? Not a gravel road, but a road road?
That's not 5 years, that's only 3.
2027.
Well, but you signed this in 2020.
But it says right
you said
here,
when it's
from the
completed.
time High Terrace is built.
Is built. So it doesn't say completed, it says built, so we could quibble about words, but, so what would be, but that's only if
I've
you
told the
decide
fire
to exercise
department
your
is-
option.
The fire department is right here. What we've told the fire department, we call it the East Side Emergency Vehicle Access Plan. And right there is the line. Within 3 years, and it's in writing, it's in the fire department have, within 3 years, Center Street will extend from there to there and be paved.
Right.
And at the same time, we will then build this road with the excess material we're going to generate so that we have a drivable, graveled road that makes the connection.
Yeah, but
And-
people aren't going to want to drive on a gravel road to work. I
Right,
mean,
that was a
that's not gonna
comma.
happen.
There wasn't a period. And then within 2 more years, that piece would be paved. But see, you can't pave a road before you develop it, because then you have to go in and dig it up and put the water line in, put the sewer line in, put the power in. So I really do know how to develop, and we did a good job here, and we're gonna do a great job here. And the fire department, and we're going to there, and then we're going to there. And if I don't do it, I don't know who will. Nobody will, I don't think.
So tell me one more time, just
Yep.
because I don't remember, apologies. How many townhomes are you planning? 80?
There's 24 that will go in here. The master plan for the rest of it, we're still working on, because we still have to work on this with the water. But well, let me just mention this. There's 2 roads that will come down this side. Both of them have no way to have a second road in, and both of them have 30 units on them,
And
because that's
so
what you have
what
to have.
caused you to decide to do 24 townhomes instead of 24 individual homes?
Well, the reason I did,
Well, I thought that
Four
Bill
lots.
said
He said
that.
4 lots.
Let Bill answer the question, please.
Okay, the townhome development here on that little road and the 24 units on it, I needed to make a break at some point in time where I was going to go to townhouses. What drove my thinking was I live right there, and we love to walk on trails. We've built a lot of them up in there, and we like to take care of the ground, and we like the animals and the birds, and we even name them. I want to see that happen up here. There's a large piece of ground there. What happens when you build them in regular lots, they get fenced, the whole 7,000 square feet, 12,000 square feet, and you take great big chunks out of the area, and you end up with the worst land as the common area. My concept was, if you have a townhouse where you don't allow them to fence the yard, it's open, and you maintain all of the exterior, and you end up with 85%, 82% of the whole area becomes now common area.
So why can you require a townhouse not to have a fence, but you can't require a family residence not to have a fence? What's the difference
Well, I
legally
suspect nobody would buy the single-family residence.
without a fence?
Yeah, well, without the ability to put a fence on. Most people that are going to buy the townhouses that we're building are not going to have 4 children at home. They're going to be people that are either younger or older, and they're going to enjoy the views and the fact that somebody else is taking care of all the exterior and the lawn care and the whole thing. That's what the market that we're looking for, and that allows us then to keep all the area open.
I think that's an assumption, because I might buy a townhouse and the first thing I'd want to do is put up a fence. I mean, that's me personally, but.
But you can't, because you're
Well,
restricted.
exactly, and so that, then, so I think the assumption that the people who buy townhouses don't care about fences and privacy is.
They may, but they only can buy what they're allowed to buy.
So I want to pull this back into our original, the request of the public hearing is the zoning and all of that. I don't care about what the townhouse looks like, if you can fence it, if you can't. That's a whole other discussion for a whole other day. We've got to focus on the property and if it fits the requirement. And Claudia has a question.
I have a question for staff.
Okay, so we've got a couple of questions for staff. Is there any others for?
I can come back up. I'm close.
Okay. No, that's what it was for Bill there. Okay, staff? They've got some questions for us. So I have a question from Josh and then from Claudia. So Josh?
Yeah. For residential low density, which we're saying these townhouses meet, to move to a residential medium, could you go back to the other slide for me, Brady? Yeah, perfect. So the brown is the residential medium, blue is residential low. If that blue was zoned residential medium and it was just all brown, would those townhouses still be feasible?
So residential medium density, single family?
Is that what the brown is? Yeah, okay, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Townhomes are permitted. Townhomes are permitted in RL as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Okay,
Claudia?
wait, I'm sorry, you'll need to say that again.
So
the townhouses are low density and the single-family homes are medium density?
No, it's a land use. So if you go to, for instance, if you go to the RM, where my code here. If you go to your RMS, single-family homes are obviously permitted. Your minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet. For townhomes, 8,000 square feet. For RL, your minimum lot size for a single family is 7,500, and for townhomes, 2,000 or 6,000 square feet per townhome. Now, this one's a little complicated because it's in a deer winter range.
I'm sorry.
It's in a deer winter range, and so your density right from the get-go, whether it's single family or it's townhomes, are cut in half. And so based on the 6.46 acres, that includes those parcels that we're talking about, Mr. Isley is proposing open space that's around 57% of the area. And so right from the get-go, he can cluster. So your minimum lot size for the duplex is 6,000, which limits it, which reduces it down to 3,000, which gets them to, actually you could build up to 28 units. He's proposing 24.
And how many single-family homes could he build in that same exact acreage?
Well, so if you had, that one's a little, I haven't figured that one out because it doesn't have the, I haven't figured it out with the deer winter range, but let's just make an assumption of, I didn't bring my other notes. Can I grab those real quick?
I thought tonight was going to be kind of simple. Boy, was I wrong.
I blame you.
Thank you for hearing. Thank you.
I did some rough calculations in case that question came up. So if a couple assumptions. If you had the, let's see, if you had the 3.46 acres with the assumption that this were to be rezoned, then that gets you the total of 3.41 acres that you're really working with, okay? And you cut that in half, and we're just talking about, so the 3.41 acres would be cut in half to the 1.705, which would get you a total of 12 units. But the single family just on the parcel that would not be rezoned would get you around 7. And that is, not taking in, you calculate the roads and all that kind of thing. So I'm just, it's just very rough.
Right, I appreciate that. So am I correct then when I'm saying the difference is give or take 24 or 7?
No. So on the residential low density, you could, again, regardless of whether it's single family or it's townhomes, the deer winter range plays into it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for all the information, but you're like way over my head.
Yeah,
I'm trying hard, but I'm not tracking with you. So I just want to know if instead of townhouses, the proposal were to build single-family homes up there, give or take with all the complications that you've explained that would have to be taken into consideration in a time-consuming process, how many single-family houses could go there, give or take?
Well, I don't have a calculator, unfortunately. But typically, so if you were to you have a total of, if you have the 6.46 acres that entails, both of those parcels, and essentially what you have in the RL is 3.46 acres, okay? So the minimum lot size in there is 7,500 square feet. Now, I haven't calculated that out.
No, I
If I were to just
do the division,
throw a number out without the road and whatever, 19.
19. So we're talking about the difference, 19 single-family or 24 townhouses.
And that's just the 3.46. That doesn't include the other 2 parcels.
Right, but I think the parcel we're talking about right now is the parcel that is of concern to this group. Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same.
Okay, thank you, Roger, and then Rick.
So you mentioned the deer winter range, and I remember us having discussion somewhere along the line about the impact, and I think we had a Fish and Game report on that. Do you recall that?
Fish and Game, the only things that Fish and Game are really concerned with are the type of fencing and vegetation. They don't want to have fences like chain link and stuff where they can get caught in. And there's certain vegetation that they are concerned with. But they'll say, well, it's going to get developed. But here's what we don't want to kind of protect the winter range.
So is the proposal right now in congruence with what Fish and Game would?
Yes.
Okay. Rick?
Mr. Mayor, we've spent over an hour discussing this, and we're now down to discussing how this land is going to be developed, when the question in front of us is whether we rezone this from residential estate to to residential low density. I think we've wandered far from the topic here.
We have. I've been trying to keep us on topic,
I
but
know.
it's tough herding cats.
To that issue, at this point, I would like to move that we approve agenda item number 5, the zone map amendment.
We're still in a public hearing, though. We've got to move
So
through that.
I would like to hear from perhaps Mr. Isley as the developer and staff, how, and Jared, I don't have the first 4 points of that you reviewed for us specifically, but I would like to hear how this proposal is in the best interest of the existing community, because that's one of the criteria. And I would also specifically like to hear how this proposal promotes I think the words were health, safety, and well-being or something like that.
So both of those criteria are addressed in the staff report, and staff has a response to that, and the applicant has a response to that. So I could.
Can you just read that
Sure.
response, maybe?
Yeah, and those are contained. So you wanted to address the community's best interest criteria?
Yes, how does this serve the best interests of
So the applicant's response to that criteria states, and I quote, "The requested designation of residential low density, RL, is being sought. This proposed zoning of RL would facilitate a new townhouse development which would provide an increase in housing stock and options for the community. The subject area development fits with the types of development adjacent to it."
And when the and maybe this is something when Brett does his comprehensive rezone exploration, what is in that, what is the definition of community? Are we talking about all of Pocatello, or are we talking about the community in which the project, because I mean, what might serve all of Pocatello might not serve that particular community.
And that's exactly one of the many things that you as council have to decide. It's not defined specifically in the ordinance.
And then also
So
the safety.
before you move on, would you like to read the staff?
If you'd like me to.
Also, why don't you do that, because
Sure.
she asked for both.
The staff's review of that same criteria regarding community's best interest says, and I quote, "The applicant's proposal to amend the zone map from residential estate, RE, to residential low, RL density is consistent with the residential designation as depicted on the comprehensive plan's future land use map."
Okay, and then if we can go to health and safety. Do you want both?
Well,
I'm assuming
I
you've
just-
forgotten what the staff and what he had said, so.
Yeah, I just want to know how this development betters the health and safety, whatever that.
So I'll read the criteria, then I'll read the applicant's response,
Thank
and then
you.
I'll read the staff response, if you'd like me
Okay.
to. The criteria, again, is number 4, and that is, if the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district would be adequately served by public facilities and services such as thoroughfares, police and fire protection, drainage, refuse disposal, water, sewer, and schools to ensure the public health, safety, and general welfare. The applicant's response states, the uses permitted in the RL zoning district would be adequately served by the existing public facilities. The existing utilities have been planned and sized to accommodate development in this area. The city already has existing infrastructure in the area to provide water, sewer, and stormwater service to this area. Private utilities, including gas, power, phone, and cable, will be available in the proposed city streets and will be easily utilized for this project. The staff review states, the subject property is surrounded by existing development and can be adequately served by extending water, sewer, and utilities as needed.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone have any other questions for staff? Okay, then with that, thank you very much. I declare the public hearing closed. Council, this item's before you. How do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Mayor?
Council President Cheatham.
Mr. Mayor, I have heard no legal reason we can turn down this application this evening. I appreciate all those who've turned out tonight to talk about the rezoning application, But that's the issue in front of us this evening, is the zoning of this issue. How the development happens down the road by Mr. Isley is an entirely separate question. So for that reason, I move that we approve agenda item number 5, the zone map amended as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Mansfield. Any discussion?
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
The problem here, and I think that Rick highlights eloquently, is that when we look at the zoning map, if that parcel was zoned as residential medium, it would be exactly the same as everywhere else in the neighborhood and would still facilitate that same development. Residential low is thus a less dense neighborhood and implication. And then at the end of the day, we can't say it has to be townhomes versus residential single. We have to answer the question, is it consistent? And given that this development could exist on all of the properties of the folks who have come and spoken tonight, I see no reason that it would be inconsistent, as Rick had mentioned. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay. All right, then with that, we have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Mansfield. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham?
Yes.
Mansfield?
Yes.
Bray?
Yes.
Burrick?
Given what's before us tonight, yes.
Ortega?
I've got two big problems with this whole thing. First, I don't like the way this procedure is run. I don't like that an applicant gets unlimited time and gets to rebut, and the people who are opposed get a short amount of time and then don't get to rebut anything. I disagree with that. The other thing is somebody here said it perfectly, this rezoning, we're the gatekeepers here. And people are telling us. So if we rezone it, we're opening a door. So for that reason, I've got 134 people on here, and I've got one. So I'm gonna have to side with the 134. I vote no.
I'm not convinced. I'm sorry. I'm not convinced that this serves the best interests of the community, and I'm not sure that this betters the safety situation. And so I, with all due respect, Bill, find myself in a position to have to say no.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes 4-2. Thank you very much for being here. We will move on to agenda item 6, exception request to allow overnight camping Budweiser softball tournament. Council may wish to consider approving the following request from the annual Budweiser adult softball tournament represented by Gerald J.R. Lynch in regards to the annual adult softball tournament.
I don't need them to.
A, allow an exception to City Code 12.36.020, restricted hours in parks to allow for overnight camping at NOP Park, Watkins Softball Complex on July 15 and 16, 2022, to host the annual Budweiser Adult Softball Tournament. And B, allow approval of associated exceptions to City Ordinance 12.36.020 for future years, subject to the Parks and Recreation Director's review and barring any significant changes or changes to the event. If the exceptions are granted, the tournament will be required to submit appropriate applications, provide proof of liability insurance, and pay applicable permit fees. Parks and Recreation staff recommends approval of the exception request. Councilman Cheatham, Council President Cheatham.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move for approval of the exception request to allow overnight camping for the Budweiser softball tournament, items A and B under agenda item number 6.
Second.
So we have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Lyric.
Mr. Mayor, before we vote, I think it would be advantageous for staff and council if we developed a policy that simply allows staff to handle these kind of requests. We did the same thing 2 years ago with a Coors tournament, and here we are back in front of us again. And I think John Banks should be given the authority to handle these kind of requests and help speed up the process.
So if I may, that's actually what B does. And we've done that for previous events in previous years, and you're not seeing those anymore.
Okay.
Because we haven't had that authority given in previous years for this event, you won't see this one again unless it's substantially
Could we
different.
prevent it from coming on any future events, unless there's something unusual about them at John's?
Say,
No.
say Coca-Cola wants to have a softball tournament.
Unfortunately.
Miller.
Unless it's, so substantially similar that you've basically already approved it. This is an exception to ordinance, and only the council can do that. That's why I'm comfortable with future events if they're identical, almost identical to the one this year. But to just do more of a blanket event exception at a staff level, I wouldn't be comfortable with because it
Can
is an
we
ordinance.
change the ordinance?
That we could do. Yes, we could allow the ordinance that is being accepted for these events to be more discretionary at the discretion of staff.
That's what I think we
Okay,
need to do.
and that's something we could definitely look into.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Lurick. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Mansfield?
Yes.
Ortega?
Sure.
Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 7, deed of facade easement for Titan Center, Pocatello Development Authority, PDA. Council may wish to approve a request by the Pocatello Development Authority, PDA, and accept the deed of facade easement for the Titan Center as required by the owner's participation agreement between the PDA and IRG, and authorize the mayor to sign all applicable documents. The term of this easement shall be 10 years from the date of the completion of all agency-funded improvements. IRG will continue to assume all continued maintenance and repair of the property. Any future material changes or alterations, it's been a day, it's been a week, to the facade will be approved by the city of Pocatello for the term of the easement.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move that we approve the request from the Pocatello Development Authority to accept the deed of facade easement for the Titan Center as outlined in agenda item number 7.
Second.
We have a motion by Lurick and a second by Cheatham. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Lurick?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Mansfield?
Yes.
Ortega?
No.
Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, professional services agreement with Civil Science Incorporation for Carson Street Bridge Project. Council may wish to approve a professional services agreement with Civil Science Incorporated for inspection services for the Carson Street Bridge Project and authorize the mayor to sign all applicable documents subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move that we approve the professional services agreement with Civil Science Incorporated for inspection services for the Carson Street Bridge project and authorize you to sign all applicable documents subject to legal department review.
Second.
We have a motion by Mansfield and a second by Cheatham. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Just
1 second, sorry.
I think it's important to say we're just approving, in essence, a grant because we fulfilled everything that we needed to do on this. So when we approve this agreement for $288,000, it's not like we're going out and spending new money. This is money that the state has already appropriated.
Okay, thank you. With that, Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Mansfield?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Ortega?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, bid acceptance for WPC dewatering equipment, pre-purchase screw presses, Huber Technology. Council may wish to accept the recommendations of staff and award dewatering equipment pre-purchase to Huber Technology in the amount of $959,494,000 for the water pollution control solids dewatering pre-purchase screws press, and authorize the mayor's signature on all applicable documents subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move that we accept the bid for WPC dewatering equipment pre-purchase from Screw Presses or Huber Technology, and authorize the mayor's signature on all applicable documents subject to legal department review.
Second.
We have a motion by Lurick and a second by Mansfield. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Lurick,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Bray,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Ortega,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 10, an ordinance. 10A, an ordinance amending Pocatello Municipal Code, Title 15, Buildings and Construction by amending Chapter 15.03.020, Licenses, Registration Required, Fees Removal, all specific licensing fees, establishing the fees be set by resolution of the City Council, and Chapters 15.08.040, Permit Fees, and 15.20.110, Permit Fees, granting authority for the refunding of fees. Council, how do you wish to have this ordinance read?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move that the ordinance agenda item number 10A be read only by title and placed on final passage for publication, and that only the ordinance summary sheet be submitted for publication.
Second.
We have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Mansfield. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Bray,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Ortega,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Thank you. Jared, would you please read the ordinance?
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Pocatello, a municipal corporation of Idaho, amending Title 15, Buildings and Construction of the revised and compiled ordinances of the City of Pocatello, more particularly by amending Chapter 15.03.020, Licenses, Registration Required, Fees, removing all specific licensing fees and establishing that fees be set by resolution of the City Council, Chapters 15.08.040, Permit Fees, and Chapter 15.20.110, Permit Fees, granting authority for the refunding of fees and providing that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I declare that to be the final reading of the ordinance. Shall the ordinance pass?
Bray,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Ortega,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 10B, an ordinance amending Pocatello Municipal Code 17.05.570, parking standards by land use to modify parking standards for multi-family dwellings. Council, how do you wish this ordinance to be read? Council President Cheatham?
Mr. Mayor, I'd move that the ordinance agenda item number 10B be read only by title and placed on final passage for publication, and that only the ordinance summary sheet be submitted for publication.
Second.
We have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Mansfield. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Bray,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Ortega,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Thank you. Jared, could you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of Pocatello, a municipal corporation of Idaho, amending Chapter 17.05, Development Standards of the revised and compiled ordinances of the City of Pocatello, 1983, more particularly by amending Chapter 17.05.570, Parking Standards by Land Use, to modify parking standards for multi-family dwellings, and providing that this ordinance and the provisions contained herein established pursuant to this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I declare that to be the final reading of the ordinance. Shall the ordinance pass?
Bray,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Ortega,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, items from the audience. This time has been set aside to hear items from the audience not listed on the agenda. Items which appear somewhere else on the agenda will not be discussed at this time. The council is not allowed to take any official action at this meeting on matters brought forward under this agenda item. Items will either be referred to the appropriate staff or scheduled on a subsequent agenda. You must sign in at the start of the meeting in order to be recognized. As a reminder, there is a 3-minute time limit per speaker and 15 minutes for this agenda item. Nikki Taysom.
Nikki Taysom, General Delivery, Pocatello, Idaho 83201. Happy Independence. The preamble to the Constitution states, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Article 4 states, Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. That is government by we the people. It's not a political party. It is government by the people, for the good and protection of the whole, while protecting the rights of the minority. Article 6 states, second paragraph, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, under the authority of the United States, shall be, meaning everybody, shall be the supreme law of the land. First article of the Constitution, Section 9. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken, and no money shall be taken from the treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law. First Amendment states, Congress, and therefore no one else under the Constitution, shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Abridging means to cut short or lessen. The Fourth Amendment states, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Amendment 5, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Our founding father, Samuel Adams, stated, the sum of it all is, if we would most truly enjoy the gift of heaven, let us become a virtuous people, then shall we both deserve and enjoy it. While on the other hand, if we are universally vicious and debauched in our manners, though the form of our Constitution carries the face of the most exalted freedom, we shall in reality be the most abject slave. Benjamin Franklin stated, I have so much faith in the general government of the world by providence that I can hardly conceive a transaction of such a momentous importance to the welfare of millions.
Thank you.
You pledged allegiance to our republic under God. It was violated on everything
Heather.
tonight. In the name of Jesus, repent or be held accountable to. You have no regard for the people or this law or the God gave it.
I've been attending meetings faithfully for now 2.5 years. This is my 3rd year in observing the budgetary process. I've seen some very minor improvements. My name's Heather Disselkoon, by the way. Sorry about that. The biggest improvement was getting the consolidated list of needs last year. That, you may remember, was a huge battle. It shouldn't have been. But there's still something critical missing. Where's your 5-year financial forecast? Some departments have these, but you need a consolidated, citywide 5-year forecast. I sat in this room last October when the former CFO reviewed financial policies. This city has a financial management policy requiring a 5-year financial forecast. Let me quote. The city shall develop and maintain a 5-year financial forecast for each major operating fund in conjunction with the annual budget process. The forecast should enable current services and current service levels provided to be sustained over the forecast period. Operating impacts from completed capital improvement projects for the city's 5-year CIP shall be included in the forecast. Commitment obligations already made that require future financial resources shall also be included. The forecast should identify impact to property taxes and utility rates. Major financial decisions should be made in the context of the long-range plan. This resolution isn't worth anything if you're not following it. What are you doing? Is your current budget sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. You know that. You knew that last year. Anyone with financial sense can see that. You are having to take every dime allowable in increased property taxes just to balance the basic budget. You have removed, dare I say, cannibalized all revenue for future capital expenditures normally levied into Fund 78 and shifted this to the general fund just to maintain the status quo. Let's look at this. Just for the general fund, which is the biggest percentage, but not all the tax levy, you are taking in $937,364 in new property taxes, $176,216 in additional new construction, $992 in annexation, 1% foregone of $325,642 in foregone. Then you have a bunch of new state revenue, all totaling to $2,409,455. Every dime of it is necessary just for you to balance the budget. Just to balance the budget. And you've got more increases coming next year. Fixed increases you can't do anything about. You're giving every employee a 3% raise. How many of our citizens are getting 3% raises this year? How many got raises last year? I'm not opposed to our employees being well compensated. I'm not opposed to them being on par with market value. But why are we not focusing on those?
Heather, thank you. Thank you. Lydia Noble.
Lydia Noble, 2042 Cassius Street in Pocatello. I've also been attending meetings for 2.5 years. This is my third budget cycle, and I continue to be disappointed and disturbed by the increasing spending without any consideration that I have seen for the people of this city. We have tried to bring facts forward that have shown you that this budget is unsustainable, and there are some on council that are just unwilling to listen. One of the biggest things we've tried to point out is our city employee numbers. We have looked at other similarly sized Idaho cities, and by far, our number of employees is enormous compared to several of those. I've talked to several cities, and they have told me before they increase full-time employee numbers in their cities, they look to outsourcing of work, they look to hiring temporary people, and they also privatize services. When is this city going to start looking into these things? I know some council are just unwilling to hear employee cuts, or at least not filling some of the unfilled positions that we have. That is something this council needs to start looking into. The other thing is, there is a good faith effort on your part that needs to be made for the citizens of this city in terms of putting into the budget some of the things that actually benefit the city, the citizens of this city, rather than just keep the city functioning. We know the city services have to be supported, but there's a point in time when you come after the public to ask for higher and higher property taxes when things like the Rocks Park slide at the pool that's been broken for years needs to be put into the budget. That is a good faith effort on your part. If you build it into the budget now, that you're saying to the public, we know we're coming to you for a lot of money. We realize that this is a hardship for all of you, but we are trying to build into the budget, not just waiting for some ARPA money that you're going to figure out is better used on other things. You need to start looking at what the city sees that you are doing that benefits their usage. Not just the city functions. That is wrong. And I'm very disappointed that this is the third budget cycle and there has been minimal improvement in how this is being handled. And there's minimal ability for the council and several staff to accept the questions being asked of them as not an attack, but it's a question. It's a question about, look at the money we're asking of our people. Let's ask these hard questions and see what we can do about it. If you put more minds together, you can come up with better solutions. That's all the questions are for. They're not attacks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is all we have, so with that, we are adjourned.